Today's show is brought to you by browtog.com. BRAUTAG, the new Browtog Premium Brewing System, is a high-quality Herm system developed by yours truly to take your brewing to the next level. And by yours truly, I mean Todd and James. The Browtog consists of 3 premium stainless steel 20-gallon kettles, perfect for brewing 15-gallon batches, and each comes equipped with durable ball valves and easy-to-use stainless steel quick connects. The Browtog controller is an innovative, no-nonsense controller developed to make your brew day better. It's easy to understand, which makes it easier for you to fully control the brewing process. Dial in your temperatures with ease and control the entire process at the flick of a switch or the push of a button. The Browtog also comes with 2 premium centrifugal pumps and all the necessary cables conveniently labeled just for you. Go to browtog.com and learn more about our special introductory offer, which includes $500 off MSRP, free shipping, and a ton of free add-ons, such as a 15-gallon recipe kit of your choice, 3 packs of liquid imperial yeast, a premium refractometer, pH meter and testing kit, a 1-year membership to Brewer's Friend Premium, Sandstep sanitizer, Brew Clean, and more. Head over to browtog.com to find a list of our retail partners and let us help make your brew day better.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
How long does kegged homebrew last? Kettle size requirements, replacing heating elements annually, and filling growlers with a counter pressure bottle filler. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 236. Hello and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and we discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I am joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, right over there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com down there, the blinking screen and well-lit Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so hard to be here. It's so hard for me to not say how are you doing. I'm so sorry.
I'm doing great. Okay. Thanks for asking.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm glad you're doing good because, like I said, it's just hard for me every week. And every week you always tell me, "Don't ask me how I'm doing," and I just want to because you also don't want me to. Todd, you've been. First off, we're recording this an hour late because Mr. If you're not early, you're late. Decides to not even tell me. I'm sitting on the Zoom, got my makeup done. My lighting's a little poor in here, but I was, sitting here ready to go, and you didn't even bother telling me that you were delayed. You had to.
My boss needed me to take care of something right away. That takes precedent. Sorry.
She does. You're right. Yeah. James, the amount of fear he had in his voice that he had potentially pissed his wife off was fantastic. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that phone call.
He got a kick out of it when I told him what I'd done. I left she's trying to leave town, and I took the vehicle she was supposed to take to work, not thinking about it. So she went out to pack it, and it wasn't there. So
I thought it was hilarious.
I told him earlier, that sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. Well, I'm just surprised. You have 18,000 cars, vehicles. I mean, they're not all in great shape.
Anymore. I've been getting rid of
you. That's right. You have been actually getting rid of you, and you keep the funny ones that I figured you would get rid of, like the blue truck. But why?
Well, that's my Furnish truck. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But what year is that Nissan? It's like a 1996.
2003.
It is not a 2000 something model.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. You put it through the ringer. I remember when you got it. You got it after you had your red truck that you used to have, the old Datsun. I think it was a Datsun, wasn't it?
No, it was a Nissan.
It was a Nissan. Well, Are they not the same thing?
Dadsons were like from 70s or something.
Oh, it was old because you ended up selling it to one of the employees, Vilver. I wanted that truck.
Yeah, I had no power steering. It was standard. It was everything. It was the most basic vehicle you could possibly drive.
James, were you around when he still had that vehicle or no?
No.
Okay.
I knew him. He had the Versa.
Okay. Yeah. And he had sold that. And then you just sold your Camry.
He told me that was his very first new car, wasn't it?
Probably so.
I believe it. Yeah, Todd's not a fan of buying new cars, but anyways, this is not the new car buying happy hour.
You know what? Did y'all see the text I sent you?
Oh yeah, all the meals.
Yeah, all the
meals my wife made for me when I was so I have a meal for every day that she's gone. Huh?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Huh?
That's awesome.
She takes good care of you. You're spoiled rotten. My wife.
You're coming up a week after next, right?
I'm coming up next week, correct?
There's only 10. She's gone for 10 days, so you're going to need to bring 2 TV dinners or something. Okay.
I'll go down to Whistle Stop. I can eat burgers 2 nights in a row. I'll be all right. Anyway, so I'm trying to look at my notes. My phone for some reason went into dark mode, so now it's harder for me to read. Even though they say that this version is better on your eyes. I don't know why my phone swapped to it, but for small talk this week, guys. Remind everybody for our Trub Club recipe kits. Again, it's almost the last call. And Joe just called me. The Imperial yeast had a delay. They arrived now, so I think recipes are going to go out. The ones that are people in Texas, you might get them this week, as in tomorrow, Friday. But I told Joe to hold off until Monday because we don't want it's hot, and you don't want FedEx doesn't ship on Sundays. So if you're like anywhere outside a 2-day delivery window for us, it's going to sit in their warehouse on Sunday. And liquid yeast doesn't like that kind of temperature sitting there. We do extra cold pack everything, but I always tell Joe, send them out Monday because there's hardly ever a place that won't get to you by Saturday if we ship it out Monday. I can't think of any in the country, in the contiguous U.S., where it takes that long. But Imperial, unfortunately, FedEx...
5 days is the most. So.
Right, and FedEx did them wrong. This stuff happens, but FedEx has been kind of happening a lot lately where they took their flight, got delayed from some reason, and so the yeast got to us early on Monday, but it was all messed up because of the flight delay. It was overheated, so they had to resend it, which thank you, Imperial, for resending it. That's how good they are to us. And it just got here, so I told Joe to wait till Monday to ship out those. But that means you still have time. You can sign up at our Trub Club. If you go to patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour or homebrewhappyhour.com/club, this month's recipe kits are a true to style Kolsch, which is what you should get, or a true to style Weiss beer, which I hear is great too if you like that kind of stuff. But the Kolsch reminded me how long it's been since I've brewed a Kolsch. So because we're out of our pale ale trial phase now, finally, we can start brewing other styles at the office. I think next time I'm up there, Todd, I'd like to brew 15 gallons of a Kolsch if you're okay with that.
I think I'm going to brew another pale ale.
You don't have enough on tap?
I'll pass.
Yeah.
I'll pass on that.
Todd,
I love pale ales. That's one of my favorite beers. It's kind of between a Kolsch and a IPA, right? I love that.
No, I agree.
That's why he had us brew all that beer.
Yeah, well, and I'm
one of my favorite styles.
That keg I brought home has been very well received. We had a jam session at my pop's, and that one was using. So Hang 'em High is the retailer, and we're gonna do a whole highlight on these hops. They're the grower, supplier, whatever you would call. They're the grower of these hops, and the one I used was called. Mackinac something. Yeah, my pop and all of our friends that came for this jam, they loved it, Todd. And actually, your grapefruit IPA was also well received because we still have about 1.5 gallons of that. And one of the guys at the jam, we were like, "Man, it's high ABV. Be careful." And like 5 later, he was like, "Play Freebird, woo!" You know, he was having a good time.
Well, my brother had his crew here working on the floors. I sent out I posted the floor that he did for me. They did a floor for me while they were here working on a very big job for my brew area. And man, it turned out nice. When we get it all set up, I'll send a photograph, but gosh, I was very liberal and with the beer with them since they were doing that floor. They didn't charge me for it. So They drank all the IPA and all of one of the pale ales.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, there probably wasn't but a gallon in each one, or gallon and a half.
Well, you're also being nice and not reminding people. I was up there every week of June, assisting.
That's what I meant. There wasn't much beer left. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because I put it down on that pale that James, what was the hop? It was my favorite one that you did. It was like crispy like a lager. Paradigm, I think was the hop name.
That's it.
It was Paradigm. That one was so good. That pale ale. And I think you did. No, I don't know if you lagered it. You
yes. Well, I did it. I fermented it in the low 60s. Yeah. And then I did a cold crash and
whatever you did, we need to do it again, because it was like it was very subtle on the hops, which some of those pale ales, I would argue with you, Todd, they were IPAs. They were way more hop forward than
whatever. None of those were IPA.
I agree with Josh on that.
Thank you.
Oh,
every now and then.
You guys get worse and worse. You're like a couple of old men sitting your ways,
yelling at clouds.
I mean.
You're the oldest one in this group, man.
I know. Yet I'm young when it comes to my.
You know what? Your dad did. He loved all those pale ales, even the ones I was like, "Oh, this one's going to be real hoppy." Your dad was like, "Tastes pretty good."
Yeah, he was the oldest one in the room then.
He definitely was. Yeah. So yes, if you go for our Chub Club again, you can join at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and look at all the perks while you're supporting us and what we do. And we can't ever tell y'all enough how much we appreciate our community, whether you're in the Chub Club or not. We greatly appreciate you guys. Also, for small talk, Homebrew Con recap is all I have written here. So this is the first show we've done since Homebrew Con. Our presentation will be published. I need to ask him if Friday's fine tomorrow, or I'll probably do Saturday just to have.
You published it. You were publishing it.
I gave it a buffer. I was given a buffer to publish. And so we will, I think this Saturday is the latest until I can publish it. But I had a great time, guys. We did the presentation on Herms Brewing. And by we, I mean, I manned the equipment and y'all talked.
That was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Always is.
It was fun. We did it from the brew room, Cat Connections LLC's brew room there, which I think added, it was kind of stressful getting that brew room set up, but what a great environment to record videos in on that system. The lighting, surprisingly, the lighting is really good in that room. We didn't need much external lighting. Once we turned off your glycol setup, Todd, the echo and all that wasn't really existent. I was really happy with the production side of stuff, and then the presentation.
You did turn it back on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I set a reminder because you remember our deal we made. If I did not, we've been going to, instead of $5 bets, when Todd wants to know I'm serious about something, I up the ante and I go, if I don't do whatever it is, you can kick me in the nuts and we'll record it for the podcast. So,
oh gosh,
I know. One of these days, people are going to get really entertained or I'm going to be in real pain no, those are going to be simultaneous. People will be entertained.
I'll probably hold back a lot, and be nice when I do it.
You're such a liar. And I really should make kicking bets with Todd, because have you seen the size of his calves? I bet you kick hard. You've got your legs, your calves.
You're going to have them surgically brought back out.
Your calves, your legs look like they're 9 months pregnant.
They look like iron heads, like clothing iron heads.
It's not the tumor on your calves, though. Like, that is some weird. If someone could accuse you of injecting steroids just in your calves, like that's
I work them out every day.
He's such a liar. Getting out of bed and breathing heavy is not working out. That's about all the small talk I have, except for Homebrew Con stuff. Just to wrap that up, you can still catch, if you join, I believe retroactively, you can go watch all the presentations. There was a lot of good talks this year. We followed John Blichmann. Funny enough, he gave the talk right before us, and it was about why all-in-ones is what you should be doing. And then we come on like, screw you, Blichmann. What you should be doing is Herm setup with 3 vessels. And what's funny is John would probably agree with the 3 vessel because they sell a ton of those.
They keep brews on that.
I think that's what that's why I kind of chuckle when it's like, well, all-in-ones is where we're going now. No, it is not, John. No, it is not.
For the people that want all-in-ones, it is.
You're right. And and we covered that in our talk though about, I say this a million times every week, and specifically on this show, it's the greatest time ever to be alive for a home brewer. Like there are so many options and solutions for people to brew good beer. It's just, if you want to brew in batches and beer share and have total control, the BrowTech might be what's up for you. Which I guess is my final small talk on that our retail partners, if you go to browtod.com, BRAUTAG, like in the 18-minute ad at the top of the show, you can see our retail partners. Everybody's doing the special introductory offer where you get that long slew list of stuff, including like $500 off, free shipping, the Brewer's Friend Premium, the refractometer, 15-gallon recipe kit, Imperial donated 3 packs of yeast per recipe kit or per BrowTod unit sold. And it's a real good deal. And as of right now, I know that Keg Outlet has financing options for up to 36 months, right, Todd? I believe for qualifying purchases.
We actually, Joe said ours was set up, but it's just for the 4 right now. But I haven't received the agreement, but we should have that set up, I would think, by tomorrow.
Okay, at Keg Connection.
It won't be on.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, everybody is having... If you're right now listening to this, the minute I publish it, which is, Thursday, you can go to Keg Outlet, get it and finance it for up to 36 months. But Keg Connection's about to have that too, and everyone is. And we appreciate everyone's interest in getting a BrowTod. It's been fun. It's been one of my favorite things to do lately is brew on that system and talk about it. Like it's been a lot of fun. But anyways, that's all the small talk I have. Before we get into the questions, someone did remind me last week I didn't do a listener feedback. So
I know, I was really disappointed too. I didn't say anything.
You're such a liar. So this week we do have, let me find it. It's time for listener feedback. And our listener feedback came from Johnny T, who emailed Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com. I know you like that intro, James. He goes, longtime listener who hopes for many more years of continued happy hour fun. The only feedback I have might come as a surprise to Todd because I absolutely agree with Joshua on this. To newcomers listening, Josh is right. Do not go back to the first dozen or so episodes. Let's just say that the show has grown into a much better version of its original self. And he did a winky emoji. That's real cute, Johnny.
I got to go back and listen to one or two of those. I haven't listened to them since we recorded them.
You don't have to. You're fine.
I did. They're not that bad. I thought they were good.
They're not. It's I think it was just a different approach to broadcasting, and I think I hit puberty in that time frame too. I don't know.
No.
I grew a better mustache. Now I don't know what it is. The early ones, I think, well, on some of them, my main beef with it was just production quality. Like we recorded one from your shed, Todd, and I'm not talking about the barn. It wasn't even built yet. We recorded it from. Remember, we did an interview with Josh Brown, and we recorded it from your actual container. So like it was on a little tiny
Josh Brown, really?
Yeah. Yep. And I shared a mic with him. That's how the board I had back then was a little 2-input one. I may have actually deleted the Josh Brown episode. That was one of the ones I don't
remember that.
Maybe I didn't publish it, or maybe
I would have asked both of y'all
why
what was up on that.
He brewed.
He did back then, James.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I didn't think he brewed a thing.
He liked
Hefeweizen.
He brewed them. Yeah, he was brewing frequently. So we're like, let's do like.
Okay, well that makes more sense. I honestly did not know he ever brewed. Because he's never seemed to have any interest in it.
I agree. Today he does, unless it's Hefeweizen. But since we never brew Hefeweizen, he's like, eh. But that episode, there's just some episodes. The thing I don't like about the early ones, guys, is just the production value, not the content. I think the content was fine. It was great questions. There are some of those where I thought, we should readdress them because maybe we have different answers, like about kegging kits or dispensing solutions. Like one of the things I've considered about this show is how opinions of ours and of listeners and of people in general change over time. And so it might be nice to go back and say, hey, here, in episode 10, here's what we took and here's how we feel about it now. I don't know, I know we make the rules. Should I retroactively give that person another gift card for taking their question again 5 years later or 6 years later? Pardon me. We've been doing this show not consistently, but over 6 years, Todd, we've been doing
so
this.
If you had puberty at the beginning, how old's your oldest daughter?
She's about to be 11.
Huh. That's awkward.
I'm not good at biology. I don't know when I hit puberty. Yeah, I don't know if she's my daughter. Is that what you're insinuating?
I was just saying.
No, I know she's mine. But if my wife gets pregnant again, and I've since had a vasectomy, then we're going to have some awkward conversations on this show.
Right.
I'll bring her on, and we'll do.
Well, I'd just like to mention I've had one too.
Yeah. So yeah. If Liz comes back pregnant, who's turning, she'll be 60. No.
Yep.
Yeah. That's more biological miraculous than I think if my wife, who's 34, gets pregnant. Again, I'm not good at science, but anyway, we do have 4 questions for y'all this week, starting with one from our buddy Philip, who did email us at he filled out the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, and Philip wrote, Joshua, you posted a picture of the towers you got for Father's Day. It looks like you still have breakfast stout on tap. Is this a new batch of your famous breakfast stout, or is this the same batch from November? If so, how long is kegged beer good for? Well, Philip, thanks for calling me out. It is the same batch. But before we get into the question, I want to say that I posted it because those towers look good, guys. I know I thanked y'all last week, but my dad loves them. The tower, we put 2 tea towers in that can hold up to 3 faucets, and I put 2 on each side because all we can hold in our fridge is 2 kegs of X1 faucets from Sam Becker, the flow control.
You told your father that half the gift was from us, right?
Yeah, no, but I'm going to edit this part out because he thinks I'm that benevolent, but not that you had anything. You just helped me. What are you talking about? No, he loves the gift, and they worked out great at the jam. People, we didn't have to adjust PSI as much and actually all the pours, I don't remember having to adjust the flow control knob hardly ever the whole day. It was real nice. And my dad likes a little bit faster pour. I like a little slower pour on some, and being able to control that on board the faucet is just a game changer for us. But yes, Philip, it is the same batch. I take my time drinking good beer, and I'll start answering the question, and then I'll throw it to you guys. Kegged beer is good as long as it tastes good. That's always been my policy. That's not scientific, but there's no off flavors on that breakfast stout, and the carbonation levels still taste fine. So we've been drinking it without issue, and I think we have a half a gallon left. I might be able to get a growler's worth full of it, and I've just been having a little bit because it's so damn good. But Todd, is there a more scientific approach to how long beer is good for once you keg it?
I know it's good for 3 weeks. I don't have a lot of experience past that.
It depends on how good the beer is initially. I've brewed some beers that's lasted for 6 months, and finally I just poured them out because I didn't like them.
You didn't like them because off flavors presented themselves?
No, he didn't like them in the first place. That's why it took 6 months to drink it. A keg would never last 6 months in James's kegerator if he liked it.
I know.
That's for damn sure.
It's not as much beer as people think. I mean, it's basically two cases of beer. Right?
You're right. Well, with the breakfast stout at ours, me and my dad are about the only ones drinking it, and he, like in the summertime, when it started getting warmer, he switched over to the various pale ales and IPAs that we've added on there, and so it'll turn into like we drink. I'll drink 2 9-ounce pours of like that pale, and then I'll have like a 4-ounce pour of that stout with the cigar or something. Like that our drinking on stouts, as much as I love them, slows down once we get to like February. And because we had like 2 gallons left in February is why it's been slower. Like if I don't drink a whole bunch from November to February, then there's a good chance it'll stay in the kegerator longer. But I don't know. I don't know a better answer for Philip other than if it still tastes good to you, keep drinking it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because you can taste a difference when it starts to turn.
Now, Todd.
And also I think a lot of it depends on style. So, like if you have an IPA in there, I think it's going to, you could drink it or especially something like a bourbon stout or, anything real strong with a lot of alcohol, a lot of hops is going to taste good for a longer period of time. I mean, some of those beers you purposely age, you may age them for a year or 2 years. And if you had a beer that you were very careful in how you transferred in like that, and you were sure you didn't get any oxygen in it, and you are always replacing it with CO2, serving it, I think you could have a beer that lasted a very long time. But I think the average pale ale is probably good for a month or two. I mean, like I said, I really don't know.
You don't get
beyond 2 months. Yeah.
Here's what I'm curious, kind of a fork off of the question, because you are Mr. I change my beer lines out every 2 weeks.
I don't change my beer lines out every 2 weeks.
You clean
I don't know where you got that
them.
from.
You clean them. Pardon me. You clean them.
Oh, thank you.
Are you still cleaning your beer lines every 2 weeks, even if you have like the same beer on tap for X number of weeks?
I clean all 6 of them at the same time. So yeah, it doesn't matter if beer's on tap or not.
Okay, I just didn't know, because I wondered too, like with the breakfast stout, we just replaced the lines because we added flow control faucets, and now the beer tastes even better. Go figure. But it had nothing to do with dirty lines. It's just the clean line gives it a better taste. I wonder if, with the beer sitting in the line, if that would introduce why it might taste as if it started tasting off or start getting off flavors, the beer line might be more.
Not if you clean your beer lines every 2 weeks.
I know, but I don't. I'm gonna have to throw James under the bus. James, when's the last time you cleaned your beer lines?
I cleaned them this week.
No, shut up! Did you really?
I did.
Darn it.
Yeah, it was the first time that I had beer. We started kegging those test batches, and I thought, probably need to do that now.
I'll be honest. I go 3 weeks quite a bit. So
do you really?
I'll go a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
And I think anybody, if you ask them, they'll tell you they go a little longer than they should.
I think they do too. But yeah, to wrap up Philip's question, yes, it's the same breakfast stout. It's still delicious. Don't judge us. But yeah, I think you'll know when your beer's turning. It's not hard. It's not hard to tell. Okay.
And I certainly think that beers that have a slight off flavor, James, will get a much worse off flavor.
Oh, good point.
With in a short period of time, like in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Whereas a beer that tastes really good will tend to, I think, taste good for a lot longer time. When you've got some kind of flaw in it, it definitely seems to grow and get worse.
Right.
I would also add anything light, or like a Pilsner or a Kolsch or something like that, where anything you can taste any difference in it. It's gonna show up pretty quick too.
By the same token, there's a lot of beers that I've put in a keg that have actually tasted better after 2 or 3 weeks. They needed to maybe age a little bit more. Maybe some things fall out of them to the bottom. And
I'd say 2 or 3 weeks or even 6 to 8 weeks conditioning in the keg is a good thing. But after 2 or 3 months, I think you could start to taste the turn.
Right. I try to condition the keg. The problem is I see how it's coming every day, and then a lot of times before it's conditioned, the keg's empty. So
it's true.
Right.
It's true. I sometimes feel like when y'all have good beer just in your conical, that you don't eat, you're like, whoa, we were only able to fill 10 gallons out of this conical. Yeah, because
that's weird.
Because you drank 5 right from the source.
It's good right off the bright tank.
Yeah, and to reiterate, Philip, I think the breakfast stout, it gave us a better odds at why it lasted. It is so good definitely. Over longevity. An Imperial coffee stout is pretty boozy, so it's a lot less likely to turn. But maybe I'll just get sloshed on breakfast stout this weekend and film something for you, Philip, on Instagram. I'll post it on there. This is for you, Philip, as I'm drinking the last gallon of breakfast stout. I don't even know if we have a gallon, but anyways, thank you so much for submitting your question. This is a good time to remind you, if and when we take your question on a future episode, we do give you a $25 gift card to catconnection.com, courtesy of Mr. Todd Burns. Moving on to question number 2, came from our buddy Lou, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, and Lou wrote, as an extract brewer looking to move into all grain brewing, what size pot or kettles do you recommend if I'm wanting to yield 10-ish gallons of beer? I love big, boozy beers, so I bet the bigger the pot, the better. That's a fun sentence to say. I love big, boozy beers, bigger pot, better. Yeah, he's not wrong. Todd, for a 10-gallon batch of all grain brewing, what size kettle is this man going to need?
Well, if you like bigger beers better, big, I screwed that up.
Boozy big
if
beers.
you like boozy beers, bigger is better. Yeah, you want to get a pretty big kettle as you're going that direction. And that was for he's wanting to go to all grain, or he's still doing extract?
He said he's going to move into all grain. So I think the assumption is he's going to be all grain brewing, and he wants to yield 10 gallons of beer.
Yeah, at least 15 gallons.
I'd go 20. I'd double the pot size
because he's talking about big beers, right?
Big beers. If he wants big beers, 15 would be the minimum. Yeah, and 20 would be better. Yeah.
And not to sound like an infomercial, but I had this conversation with someone this last week about the Brautag, saying how you could comfortably do the biggest barley wine you can think of in that if you're yielding 10 gallons. It have plenty of space. You're not going to boil over. You have tons of room for your grain build. And if yielding 10 is more because we made a joke during this was someone who watched us at Homebrew Con, and I made a joke about looking forward to brewing. I think I made the joke on air. Maybe it was during last week's show. But either way, I made a joke about looking forward to brewing 5-gallon batches on my new Brautag, which I don't have a Brautag yet. But just to get under Todd's skin, because Todd hates he hates that it's like the same amount of work to just go ahead and brew 10 on our cooler brew as opposed to some of the 5-gallon batches my pop and I have done. But
I've definitely done big beers with the 20-gallon kettle before and done 15 gallons.
Oh, have you really?
Gotten 3 kegs. Yeah. Yeah. You just gotta
living life.
You gotta be, you gotta watch your mix and all that. But I certainly have done that. So.
I was gonna say I can't think of the last time we've done like a big when you say big beer, like what do y'all? Because when I hear big beer, I think boozy stout or like a barley wine. Like that's what my brain goes to. Like James,
so you're talking 10%, right? Big boozy beer to me is 7.
Yeah,
the one I brewed was 9, around 9. Yeah, the last time.
Yeah, I was thinking when I. Maybe I spend too much time on Reddit and getting disapproved by all those people on Reddit. But I always think of big pastry stouts,
or a bell, a quad Belgium or something like that. Yeah,
and comfortably you could produce 15 in those 20-gallon kettles. You think?
Yeah, I mean, you say comfortably, you'd have to manage it.
Yeah. Well, to be, like I said,
particularly with a Belgium, because you're always going to add some candy sugar in and stuff like that.
Well, my dad, I mean, we live life on the edge brewing that breakfast stout, talking about the breakfast stout in the cooler brew to yield 10 gallons. It is full capacity. Yeah. I mean, it is maxed out, but it is possible. So I guess, I could see comfortably doing the breakfast stout in a 15-gallon batch on like the Brautag system. It'll be pushing it up there, but it'll be more clearance than what I have in that cooler, because I think the coolers are only 11 gallon or 11 and a half capacity, where we're yielding a 10-gallon batch, where the Brautag ones are 20 gallons and we're yielding a 15. So I think I'm not good at math and displacement, but
I wouldn't try to do that on my first batch. I would get used to any system brewing first to make sure you're going to have good circulation.
Good point.
And that sort of thing. Well, that's where the circulation is going to be the most difficult thing, I think.
Yeah, you'd have to drop your water to grain ratio if you're going to go high, and the higher you go, the less that'll be. Or you could do a double mash, do your mash and sparge, and then do another mash and sparge, and then boil down. That would be another way you could get high gravity beer.
This is another one of those answers where it's like if it's in your budget, especially with kettles, if you're just talking about this one kettle, like let's say Lou's doing brew in a bag in this one kettle. The price difference between a 15-gallon kettle and a 20 is not a whole lot. If you work it into your budget, you'll future-proof yourself and ensure you're brewing as big a batches or big boozy batches as you want. Even if you're yielding 10, and then maybe in the future you decide I want to start yielding 15, and you'll be able to do it in the same kettle. We're fans of future proofing. I think if it's in your setup budget availability, we're big fans of future proofing. And
the other thing too is I brew 15 gallons because I like to trade. I like to trade with Josh. I like to trade with James. If I brew a barley wine, I'm probably not going to get a lot of trades. So.
Yeah,
you should. Yeah, I would feel like you were trolling us if that's what you brought to the table. Hey guys, here's my or a Goza. You were actually talking about. Don't you have some in your fridge? I forgot why we were talking about.
We tried one.
Yeah,
we
that's
tried one of the
was.
beers. You thought it tasted like a Goza. Yeah,
I did.
So
I did. Were you there?
I liked it. It's a summer. It's a summer beer. It's really not a Goza, but it did have some characteristics of it. Yeah.
I mean, if it walks like a duck.
Well, I could be wrong. I have it right over there. I'll go get it and show it.
No. No, you're right. It doesn't say Goza. It just says like summer spiced ale or something like that. So it wasn't. It just tasted a little funny. That's all. That, drink what you like, though. That's also our policy. So yeah, Lou, I think to be on the safe side, if you're trying to yield a 15-gallon would get you there probably on most beers, but if you can't, get a 20-gallon. Future-proof yourself. You'll be happy you did it, especially on a brew day that goes bad. That'll be one less thing you can blame it on. Like, oh, my kettle. You'll be like, oh, no, I had plenty of room in my 20-gallon kettle to do that. And if you're spending the money on a good kettle, the difference, again, between a 15-gallon and a 20-gallon is not that much. So it's worth it to get something that will ensure you're going to have a good brew day. But anyways, thank you so much, Lou, for submitting your question. Our third question comes from our buddy Colton, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Colton wrote, recently I had an issue with my Spite element, which could be a whole different rant. And when I called Spite, they told me that element should be replaced annually. I have never heard of this, so my question to you is, do you replace elements annually? Why would a person need to do it? Is it strictly preventative measures to replace an element annually? Even doing the search didn't show me much, and it doesn't appear that replacing elements every year is standard procedure, so I thought I would ask my favorite podcast. Prost. Thank you for the compliment that we're your favorite podcast. We're not even my favorite podcast. I'm with Colton, Todd. I included it. He literally he just sent this in a few days ago. I'd never heard this about my policy is I replace things when they need to be replaced. But
I don't know. I mean, it's a hot water heater element. It's no different than the element in your hot water heater, and you certainly don't replace your hot water heater element every year. You replace it when your hot water heater fills up with sediment and burns out or something like that. I mean, no, I have never replaced an element unless it was burned out.
James, have you heard of this preventative measure of replacing elements?
No, I think that as long as important thing to remember is, especially on the one that's going to see more use or abuse, will be the boil element, because it's immersed in sugars. So try to keep that clean. And I think as long as you can keep it clean and it'll last a good long while. I would suggest keeping a spare on hand just to have. But for the most part, if you're doing your maintenance and keeping everything clean, I think you'll see it'll last. We've used the same elements for years.
Well, that's why. Yeah, go ahead, Todd.
No, keeping it clean, like you said, is very important, and it's not hard to keep it clean. If I use quite a bit of brew clean and just fill it up to over the top of the element, and then I will take a stainless steel scrubber. They're fairly inexpensive. You can buy them pretty much anywhere. Not an SOS pad. Don't ever use a metal like SOS pad, because it could mess up the metal. What you want to use is a stainless steel scrubber. I scrub it real good with that, and I haven't had any problems. Yeah,
I hadn't either.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask y'all, because my policies aren't usually the kind you'd recommend to people. It's like, well, Josh, when did you replace your tires? Oh, when I almost, flipped the car and the tread is all over the place. Like preventative, I could be better in a lot of aspects of my life. If even my own health, I see the doctor when I'm sick, not, so I'm lying. I usually go once a year for a physical for blood work, but that's like checking my blood pressure and my blood sugar and that, but I could probably take better preventative measures in a slew of areas in my life. But with elements, this was literally the first time I'd ever heard this, and I also searched for it, and I did find someone on Reddit had a similar comment, and the people on there are like, I don't know why you would want to either.
99% of the time, I'm going to say 99% of the time, elements burn out because of an oh crap, and the oh crap is you ran them without water.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that.
That's why you should keep a spare.
That is it. Yeah.
Or they'll get so caked up from not being cleaned with sugars, burnt sugars, it'll build up like an insulation.
Yep.
And it doesn't have the ability to radiate that heat off the element into the water, and it'll pop.
Like James said, though, cleanliness is the best policy for your elements, for your brew system. If you're using an all-in-one, a 3-vessel, whatever kettles you're using, whatever fermenters, if you just, that is one area my dad and I are good at. With brew day, and Todd, you won't even believe this because of how lazy I am when I'm up there. We get everything really clean when we're done, because the worst thing you can have is gunk stuck over and not discover it until it ruins a future batch, or when you're trying to brew and it takes more time to have to start the next brew day. If you just take care of that crap right when you're done, like boom, take the grains out and scrub that thing, clean it, and don't shake your head at me. No,
I think Scott manages that deal.
I'm a different person when I'm not around you. I'm a better person when I'm not around.
I think Scott totally manages the cleaning aspect.
No, I get him a beer and hold the flashlight, or I do something. But kidding aside, we all agree that keeping your stuff clean will keep it working better and more long lasting, and it'll keep your beer tasting better the cleaner and more sanitary you are. There's a reason why everyone says brewing is basically janitorial work, because a good brewer is a good cleaner as well. So keeping that stuff clean, Colton, will go a long way. And if, once you have your element issues resolved, I think we're all on the same page that, again, keeping it clean, preventative replacing is probably not necessary. But if it's a specific thing with a specific manufacturer, use your own discretion. If they recommend something and it's a certain part or whatever you're using for their thing, wrestle with that and with them. But we don't replace our elements unless we need to, and you'll know when you need to replace an element. So that's why Todd and James recommended keeping an extra one on hand, so you don't have to wait for shipping on a replacement one. But anyways, Colton, thank you so much for submitting your question. Our fourth and final question for this week's episode came from our buddy Daniel, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Daniel wrote, "Hey guys, I was given a beer gun for Father's Day along with fresh bottles and caps. I already have a bunch of growlers and I want to get your input about using the beer gun to fill growlers. Do you think it's a waste of time hooking everything up when I can slap on some tube over my faucet spigot and pour into the growler? This might be stupid to ask, but what's the difference between pouring off my faucet into a growler or bottle instead of using the beer gun? Feel free to ignore my question submission if you are too busy laughing at me. Cheers from Oklahoma." D. Daniel, no, you might be brand new to the show, or that's kind of our thing, is to laugh at people, me specifically, but that's not a dumb question. It's a great question.
Not at all.
Beer gun or any counter pressure bottle filler is a wonderful tool to bottle from a pressurized keg of beer into bottles. It is the only safe way to do it that I know from there. But with growlers, Todd, I've never thought to, hey, Dad, while we're doing these bottles from that keg, let's fill up some growlers. Is there any point to that? Is it going to preserve carbonation better than any other method? I just don't.
Well, if you had a counter pressure bottle filler that had a giant mouth on it where you could cork it off and actually get it pressurized and then fill at the same pressure as the keg, or slightly different, then yeah, that might be good because you could pressurize it and fill it, but you don't. So what I recommend you do when you fill a growler typically is not meant to save beer for a long period of time. It's meant to transport beer home and drink it that night or the next night, or take it to a party, something like that. So if you want it to last a little longer, what I would do is I would take a hose. I would hook up a hose to my CO2 source that's open, and then put it down on the bottom of the growler and purge the growler of any oxygen. So you just have a blanket of CO2 in there. Then put the hose for the filler in there and fill it up to the top and cap it real quick, and that way you should have the beer that would not oxygenate as quickly.
That is a great idea, actually. I've never considered purging a growler, but again, also because, like your first point, we've never had growlers around long enough. Like we fill a growler to take to a jam or take to someone's house, and it's being consumed an hour after we had filled it, right? So oxidation is not even an issue because it didn't have long enough time to really present itself. I think some scientists are going to email me, Josh, you're an idiot because oxidation can occur in 22 minutes. But James, I've never actually seen you bottle, James, to be fair. I was going to ask you a question about bottling or using growlers.
Clay made me bottle one time.
Did he? But that was your whole batch, not from a counter pressure, right?
Yeah,
he has used a counter. You've used a counter pressure.
You showed me one time, but I think technically you were the one doing it.
Oh, okay.
That
was when we were getting the beer ready for the.
I have one, but I rarely use it. Every once in a while, if I'm going to my dad's for dinner or something, I might counter pressure a couple of bottles and take them over there. Maybe 4 bottles and take them over there.
I'm surprised only because you have 5,000 growlers all across your warehouse or your garage, many of which are ones I've tried to get from you.
Well, I was talking about bottling.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm saying I'm surprised you don't use just one of those growlers to go to your pops. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that would make sense. It's a lot of beer though. And when I go over there, we would have 2 maximum. So
yeah,
I guess I could fill it half full, or we could just drink more beer.
Just drink more beer.
Before I get back to his question, my favorite thing about it when his dad comes to visit when I'm up there, it doesn't matter if he's been there for 1 minute or for
1 second
or 1 second. You ask him as soon as he gets there, Mr. Burns, can I get you a beer? I thought you're never going to ask.
Yeah, he does. He does. He loves to do that. He will walk up and he open the door and you go, "Hey, Dad, how are you? Would you like a beer?" And he'll go, "I thought you'd never ask."
That's the best.
It cracks me up.
It does. Oh, it's the best.
It's funny every time.
Every time, I know. I aspire to that. But yes, Daniel, I would say you might be, or how about this, Todd? Is it hurting anything? If he's bottling and he has the growler, is it going to matter if he just uses that bottle filler to also take it out? I was about to tell him, if you're doing them all at the same time, fill a growler with that same tool, with the same beer gun, and you'll be fine. But I want to make sure before I say that.
It'd be slow, though.
It would. I agree. It would be slow, but it's not. I mean, if everything's hooked up.
With the Blichmann Beer Gun, can't you purge it? It has a CO2.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can shoot CO2 in it and purge it.
I'm not even sure it be considered a counter pressure bottle filler.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah,
it's a purge filler. How about that?
It is a purge filler. It's not a counter pressure. You're right. Yeah. And again, some engineers, they tell us, well, technically, I think they would agree with us. Technically, it's not counter pressure at all. There's a difference between, and Todd, you saw both. I don't believe, have you ever set up a counter pressure bottle filler station?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have a preference on which type of tool you like for filling bottles?
I like the beer gun because it's so fast. I mean, it's just, you just stick it in there and purge it and fill it up, and they just work good. I mean, I like them. Yeah.
I will say too, for Daniel's point, I don't know what kind of.
I just screwed up because I said how slow it would be on a growler, and then I said it's so fast, but it's really fast in a 12-ounce bottle. It would be pretty slow in a 64-ounce growler. So,
relatively speaking, right? It would take longer than. But depending on what kind of faucet you have. He already mentioned he can add tubing to it. So he's already, in my opinion, doing the first important step on a faucet. If I can get me and my dad, if we're filling a growler, we can get tubing from the faucet to the bottom of the growler. It seems to help infinitely with the pour and the lacking of, just a lot of people will pour and they're like, all I see is foam and your growler. If they don't have a glass one, if they have the stainless steel or aluminum kind that like my dad and I have, or like Todd, what you have, you can't see inside it. So if all you're looking at is a bunch of foam, you're like, oh crap, I don't know how much I filled up. It's not, but if you put tubing from your faucet all the way to the bottom, I think you're going to have a much better experience with pouring. Would you all agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Actually, Todd, you showed me that trick because I think I was complaining about, I'm pouring it, man. I can't see it. All I'm getting is foam. And I think you said, oh, I'll just add, because the V2Gs I used to have, James, had those bent nozzles where you just stick 5/16 tubing over it like nothing, run it to the bottom. best.
Yeah, your X ones do have the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Where if and when my dad fills growlers up again, because I think I gave him PTSD from filling up growlers. That's why we actually have breakfast stout left over still, because I convinced my dad we drink more than we do, and he stopped sharing beer with his poker buddies. Sorry, Pop. But yeah, you're right.
Scott, I think you should do whatever you want to do. It's your house, right?
It is his house. It is his house. But yes, Daniel, I would also like to add for Daniel that I think that's a fantastic Father's Day gift. Beer guns have been hard to get this year. Blichmann's finally starting to have a lot of stuff come back in ready stock. Like right now, the beer gun is available at like homebrewsupply.com or Keg Connection, but a lot of their stuff, like the Foundry, is still in high demand and low supply. Everybody, dude, what's up with like everybody and their mothers in every industry is like, oh, you know, Chick-fil-A, like, oh, we ran out of Chick-fil-A sauce. Like, but that's your thing. How did you run out of that? Supply issues.
Oh, we were scrambling this morning trying to decide what to do about regulators. We can't get regulators. We can't get hose. We can't get a lot of other parts. We were able to find a way to make up some regulators, and we're okay now. But we're having severe supply problems, and it's also causing prices to go up, costs to go up substantially. So it's been a challenge.
Everything's going up, man. My taxes are going up. I was thinking about starting a second YouTube channel of doing crappy cover band music of 90s artists, but I haven't gotten there yet. Or I'll just start an OnlyFans. I don't know if there's a fetish out there for people who like aggressively mediocre people and who are not funny and like hairy bodies. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, then I won't go that route. I might edit that part out too, because I don't want to creep my mom out if she listens to this. I'm not going to edit it out. I'm lazy. Anyways, Daniel, thank you so much for submitting your question. Guys, that's all I have for this week. I appreciate y'all's time, even though we had to start an hour late because of somebody. But I do appreciate y'all coming, doing the show. Todd, I'll pray for you without having Liz there for, you said 10 days?
Well, you'll be here for part of the time, right?
Yeah. We're gonna, yeah, I will be. What am I? I know you already told me I have to bring my own dinner. It's a BYOD that I have to bring my own dinner to the Burns Ranch. That's gonna be fun. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for your time. I'll catch y'all next week.
Thanks.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, browtog.com. I messed that whole thing up. Go to browtog.com to learn more about our new Herm system, or you can go to kegconnection.com/browtog and take advantage of the incredible introductory offer going on for a limited time. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.